The next studio visit is with ADELE Weagner, silk painter. She lives just outside of Spencer, Tennessee in Van Buren County, just a stone's throw from Fall Creek Falls State Park. Beautiful area. Okay, today I'm at the home studio of ADELE Weagner, and she is going to not only tell us about her background, but what she does, how she does, and why she does what she does. Miss ADELE?
Hey.
Good morning.
Thank you. Welcome to my studio. I'm so glad to have you here. I am a silk painter, and what I do is I paint on silk or apply dyes. When I say paint, I'm actually using dyes, and I apply it in many different ways, and I can show you different ways that I do that. I'll show you some examples of my scarves. I also do men's silk neckties and bow ties, and I do little decorative fans. And
if it's silk, you paint it.
And this is all silk.
Yeah.
Everything I do is silk.
All right.
Or little sun catchers or Christmas ornaments. Everything I do is silk. And what I use are dyes that are specially made for silk. They're not for cotton, they're not for wool. These are dyes that are designed for silk. Many of them are French.
Now, ADELE, how long have you been doing this?
I would say I've been doing it silk painting about 4 or 5 years.
Really?
Yes.
Cool. Now, how did you get interested in it, or what? Probably something that you had admired for a while and then decided to get into it.
Well, I've been interested in fibers since I was a little girl. I learned to knit and crochet when I was about, probably 6 years old, and used to do potholder looms. So everything I did was fibers. And then I love doing watercolor. And so when I discovered silk painting, what it was a way to combine both my loves, the love of fibers and the love of painting, because many of the same techniques that we use in watercolors we use in silk painting. They're essentially still, they're wet media that are used to apply color and design. For instance, in watercolor, people will use salt to create texture. Well, I do the same thing with my silks. In watercolor, you might apply a resist to preserve a white area, and I apply resists in my silks. Alcohol is another thing that is used. You put drops of alcohol on a watercolor, and that creates texture. I do the same thing in silks. The things that I learned about blending colors in watercolor work with silk painting. So they're very, very closely tied together. And so the learning process, the learning curve came in, and learning how the dyes act on the silk, because they don't do the exact same way that watercolors do on paper. And so that is what I'm trying to do. That's what I've been learning. I've been able to take a few workshops with some professionals, and that has helped me tremendously to grow and to learn.
Well, and you teach also. Do you conduct workshops?
I do. I have taught some silk scarf workshops. I've also I remain in the art field by teaching children. I've had a children's class that I've taught, and this is fine arts of drawing and painting. And I've done that for about 8 years. And for a couple of years, I've started doing an adult class also with fine art.
Right. So now ADELE is going to switch off and actually demo and show us some of these techniques.
All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to what I have done, part of the process is that you draw a pattern, you draw your design on so that you know where you're going. And because when you put, I can show you with a drop of water, this would be the same as with the dye. When you put a drop on, you can see that it spreads out like that. And so you don't want that happening in your design. So I have put a resist called actually resisted, and I've gone over all of my lines with that, and that will fence it in so that the color should not
bleed out.
Bleed
It's
out.
gonna
Yes.
stay in that area.
So I want some green leaves, so I'm going to get some yellow, and just, you'll see it takes just a touch of blue to make a beautiful green, and I'm going to do some on this leaf. And you don't even paint all the way to the edge. You'll see what happens is, see the dye spreading, and you just get close to where you want to be. And the dye will move. Sometimes you have to touch in a corner. You can see it's filling in. Places I haven't even touched are filling in with color. And then, just to give it a little more interest, I'm going to put, and this is like I explained with watercolor, the colors will blend, and so I'm going to try to get some of these colors to blend a little. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to get it to the dye to move around a little more. And this will keep working. Let's see, we'll put a couple of places here. I didn't quite get it. There we go. So now, before you couldn't really see the lines, but now you can see where I have put in, oops, there's a little spot there. I went outside the line. It's going to spread, but it'll be all right. I'll put another color on top of it. All right, so I'm going to call that leaf done. And I'm going to move on to the sunflower. Move this down here. Now, you know, Lynn, whose audacious auction this is really big on sunflowers.
Yes, so I'm a flower person. I love flowers.
She can probably tell me more about what we're doing here, but I'm going to do a little bit of orange. I'm going to do a lot of orange here. And I'm going to start out just putting some color in here. And again, I have already gone over this, and some of them I'm going to make a little bit redder at the bottom. I've already gone over this with the resist, so you can see where it's not going to go beyond a certain place.
Now, Adele, do these colors dry lighter or darker than what
they
you're
will be a
putting down?
little lighter.
A little lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a possibility that this might be a piece that might be in January's auction.
Yes.
Aha.
Yes, this would be something. So you will have seen me at work, and
you get to the before and the after.
Mm-hmm. This will eventually have a beautiful black border all the way around it. It really sets off the colors.
Well, this is going to be a very dramatic piece, I can already tell.
Mm-hmm. So I have a similar piece that I did that was water lilies, and I did a beautiful turquoise background on that, and then I did the flowers and the lily pads, and so this one kind of puts me in mind of that one. So it's really kind of fun. One of the things that give me pleasure about doing this is watching that dye move around. I just think it's fascinating to see it move and then stop.
Well, and two, with watercolors, there's an element of spontaneity that
Yes.
is out of your control, that the materials can do. I mean, I guess you could really get very anal about some
Yes.
of these designs, but
And
the
some
looser,
people, yes.
yeah, what I love about your pieces is they're nice and they're loose and very free in their designs. They're just have a lot of energy, a lot of beauty.
Thank you. And yeah, I do. There are some people that paint very precisely, very thin lines. I kind of like to see, as you call it, the spontaneity, and to see the colors happening and moving. And I just have always loved color, and I think that's very evident in my work, that my love of color. you work on just one area at a time. If the dye dries, you will actually, and then you put more dye on top of it, you'll actually create hard edges. So you have to be careful with that. And it may be that this will be too light when I go back, and when it's dry, I can go back over it and add more color to it. But if I want this blending to happen, I have to do that while it's still wet.
Right. Wet on wet.
Yeah. So, let's see. Sunflowers tend to have a nice black center, don't they?
Yeah. Dark brown to black.
Yeah, so we're going to get some of this black. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I like to
Yeah.
garden, and one of my favorite things to grow is sunflowers.
So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to put color, and then I'm going to go back in and spot more color in, darker color, and it will blend as it wants to. And I tried to put some little bumps in here. So now we're going to just get some black. Those will be the seeds. So, do sunflowers grow well here in Tennessee?
Yes. They love hot. They love the summer. And I've got some pictures of my grandson next to 12-foot tall Russian mammoths.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You've got a great location out here, and especially up here on the hill, you'll get lots of sun. So, and fortunately, they're easy to grow. That's why I grow them.
Ah.
You get a lot of bang for your buck.
All right, so then we'll put some leaves in, and mixing some other color in. So I really love the greens blending together. You can see in here how pretty that is. Fine.
Okay, we're back.
All right, what I'm doing here is I'm putting a black border on this, and anytime that you're doing a wide area like this, you pretty much have to do it all at once. You can't, you don't want to let it dry, or you'll get lines that you don't want, where hard edges develop. And so that's why I'm kind of painting a little bit on one side, and then I'm painting a little bit on the other side.
Well, it's still
I want, yes, absolutely. I want that wetness. I want to keep it going. And I don't do this to all my scarves, but I especially try to do it on the ones that I paint and put a lot of work and detail in like this. The ones that I do where I just apply the dye maybe overall without using the fine resistad, the Gouda kind of resist, I don't always put it on that. But when I'm doing a fine painting like this, I try to put the border. I think it just sets it off, just like an artist would put a frame around their painting, and it just sets it off. All along, as I'm thinking about this, what I'm doing is I'm creating wearable art.
Yeah.
And so I need to think about how it's going to hang. For instance, this one is one that I said was similar. And so I designed it so that if a person were to wear it like this.
Now those gloves are free of any kind of...
Yeah.
Right.
If you were to wear it like this, then you get that flower. Or this on a longer scarf.
Right.
Maybe would do this. But if you were to just wear it as a tie like this, then you get the water lilies here. And so I think about that in my design. What are we going to see? And a lot of times, just, you know, for reference, you might buy a scarf that you really, really love, and the design may not even show up that much. But so that's why you want to make sure that the colors, as long as you like the colors, that's the main thing. This one is a lovely one, I think. I love the just sort of marble look that it has.
Very subtle. Let me get closer on that one.
I think this one has...
That's super soft. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have moved into another section of her studio, and you've got an apparatus in front of you. You tell us what that's all about. I think that's to help set your colors.
Yes, it is. Until the colors are set, I could put these in water and a lot of the color would come out. They'd be ruined.
Wow.
And so we don't want that. So this is called a stovetop steamer. It's got a bar here. And what I do with my silks when they are completely dry and set, is I roll out sheets of newsprint and I lay the scarves on it and have several layers of clean newsprint in between them. And I roll it up, I roll it onto this bar, and then I place the whole roll in here. And there's water under here. And I set this on, you can see there's water under here. And I put another hot plate here, and I lift the whole thing onto the hot plate and put it on hot, and it gets a nice head of steam. Now the directions say you only need to set the dyes for 30 minutes, but I have found the longer the better. And it may be because my method doesn't get as hot as some other methods. So I usually leave them about 4 hours.
Okay.
And what happens during that process is the dye chemically bonds to the silk. And so you let that go, and really as soon as it's done, you can take them out of the newsprint, off the roller, and then you rinse them. And when you rinse them, some color will come out, but they're not going to fade because the color has, as I said, been chemically bonded to it. And what's happening is just there's excess color that didn't bond. There was maybe too much dye for the amount of silk that was there, and so it doesn't bond. And also, whether I have used a wax resist or if I've used another kind of water-soluble resist, a lot of that will come out in steaming. But if it doesn't all come out, then in that rinsing process where I go back and forth from cold water to hot water to warm water, then the rest of that resist will come out.
And then the piece is color set, and you do this on all of your pieces.
Yes. And then the final step is to iron it. And when I iron it the first time, I iron it when it's damp on a very hot setting, and it presses really nice, gets all the wrinkles out of it. Something that you might want to know how to care for these things is that silk is a natural protein, just like our hair. And so if you were doing this at home, you don't have to be as rough and tough as I am when I'm trying to get all that excess dye out. I would suggest that you do it in a sink with cold water and use baby shampoo because it's gentle. As I say, it's a protein like our hair, right. And so use baby shampoo. And then in the final rinse, put a little bit of conditioner, and that will soften the silk.
Oh.
Just like you soften your hair, you would want to soften that.
Wonderful.
And then again, I would suggest pressing it while it's damp. If you try to press it on a silk setting, which is very low, while it's dry, you're going to have all the wrinkles are still going to be in it.
Right. Good advice.
Yeah, so that's how you do it.
Yeah, because I think these are going to be very appealing to the ladies, not only to gift themselves with it, but also to gift some very their best friends.
Yes.
And maybe daughters or moms.
Yes.
Great for Mother's Day gifts.
Oh, they're wonderful. And Valentine's Day gifts.
Birthdays. Especially when it's for somebody who's really hard to buy for.
Yes.
If you know their colors and if they love to support artists and artisans. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
See, there's again where I like that black border on a lot of my things.
Yeah, very dramatic. I really like the look of it. I can't wait to see that sunflower scarf finished.
Some more. This one was a wax one. This one I like. It's just kind of calligraphic looking.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So, yes, I can't wait to see it myself. It's like Christmas waiting for it to finish up.
Well, hopefully more of the films, more of the little featurettes that I'm doing as you see the artists working on the pieces, and then in another month or so, you actually see them offered in the auction. So you can see your piece, if you choose to buy it, you can see it in process. So be sure and check back at Looney's Audacious Art Auctions to see Adele's progress as well as the other artists who are participating. Even see some of these pieces being produced, and then you'll have an opportunity to bid on them, make them your own.